Okay guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy these videos, please don't forget to subscribe and give it a great thumbs up. Okay, thank you and enjoy the video.
Good morning, good evening, or good night, depending on what time you're watching this. It's Nathan here, and it's time for the news video. What is up, Self Squad? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome. Okay, guys, so we're going to be going through strategy and planning for King of the Hill. What sort of things are you going to be wanting to look out for? What sort of things you're going to be wanting to plan ahead of time? How you're going to incorporate this into the fight? All these things will be very important when planning and executing what you want to do. Now, first of all, of course, you can see what teams you've got and what teams you're going to be fighting. So as you can see, we're going to be going up against Jax and we're going to be going up against Ray. Our alliance is KOTH. Now, one of the most important things is how many marches have they got? Now, if you've got 20 players, even if they're solid, strong players, a team of 30 weak players would be able to easily outplay you. Now, the way they would do this is they would hold you off. Of course, you have to have over 5 people to be able to progress. Now, if you've got 20 people, you're capped out at 60 marches. If they've got 30 people, they're capped out at 90 marches. So when you actually go into combat with them, they could get 5 people stacked there and then just progress. Now you may think, yeah, but my march can kill 3 of their marches. Doesn't matter. They could literally just revive their marches, speed it back in, and they could still hold 5 marches off there. So while the weakest players in an alliance could speed into a building, the fight will take roughly 10 seconds to be able to kill them out of that building. By this time, they could have their second 2 marches already going in. As soon as that march is finished, you've got to fight the other 2 marches now. They could respawn their other march, speed in. So a weaker player would be able to hold off 5 stronger player marches inside one building. Now, if another person went behind them and they end up having 6 marches in the 6th march could progress to the next building. So they can combat you by having more marches. So do be aware of this when planning how you're going to be able to fight this. So, as you can see from Ray, they've got 30 players, meaning they've got 90 marches they could be using. They've got a 2.2 billion player, a 1.2 billion, 1.17, then they've got a few 1.3s here. So they've got a decent sized strength here. Now, if we look at the top alliance, obviously power isn't everything. Power can just be troops. You do have to remember that. The power could just be troops. But this team's got 1.37, couple 1.2s, couple 1s. So primarily, power-wise, the other team does look scarier, and they do have more marches. So I know Ray I'm going to be focusing on a slightly bit more. So when I'm planning my teams, I make 3 teams in total. That looks like 6. So make 3 teams in total, and I will probably be putting a bit more power going to the left to be able to fight Ray. So if I open up this image here, you'll be able to see the whole entire map, how many each one of the points are. This is inside my Discord if you are wanting to check it out, and you can obviously use it to be able to plan your strategies. So you've got the water bit over there for team 1, you've got the center orange bit here for team 2. Obviously they can progress across that water, so you do need to block that off. And then there's the water bit over here which they can progress it for, which will be team 3. So I already know Ray is going to be the stronger team. So I'm going to put a solid team over there. I'll put a slightly weaker team over here to be able to block off this side. I'm going to try and get both teams to the water to be able to see how strong we do compare against them. Now, I will probably be putting the strongest team going in center. Now, that doesn't mean I'm putting the 10 top players. I will average it out slightly and then put a little bit more power where needed. Because I don't want to make one team so weak that they'll be able to easily overpower it. So what I'll do is I'll average out the powers, and then I'll move a couple of strongers over from one and a couple of weakers over to the other to try and counterbalance where I need a little bit more power. Now, as you know, the yellow buildings don't open for 20 minutes. So for the first 20 minutes, it's just those 3 locations you're really trying to block off. The red ones are the most important buildings, as you can see. They're worth 600 per minute on the left-hand side. So you really do need to try to get them. Now, let's say you're fighting for one of these yellow buildings after 20 minutes. Do you need to speed in and be the first one there? The answer is no. If you've checked out my previous guide, which I will be showing now, this guide, it does show you that you don't need to be the first one in there. What it is it's the last one to be able to do the finisher. So KOTH was the one which killed the first, I think, 5 or 6, because we all sped in straight away. Then we realized that HKK took it, not us, and we had more power in there and more troops. So I did speak to the devs, and what they told me was that it's not about how many troops are in there. It matters about who does the finishing blow. So when you're going for the center, there's 10. I think there's 10 infecteds in there. So does it matter if you're the first 9 people? No, you have to be the 10th person to go in there. So you don't need to speed in there to be the very first one to be able to fight that thing. You need to make sure that you're the 10th one in there. So if you had everyone speed in when it got to about 6 or 7 in there, then primarily you've got a good chance to be able to take that building. And then you would control it and you would get the 1800 points per minute for taking that building. So you do really need to think about this when planning this. Make sure your team knows about this, because this is a big part of the game. Once you've held one of these buildings, any one of those 4 yellow buildings, you know if you hold it, you're getting 1800 per minute. So it's a huge amount to be able to get. It's the same as 3 of these red buildings. So make sure that you are trying to focus these. So once the 20 minutes have opened up, you're going to need to block off these 2 locations with your teams. If you got 10 people on each team, then you could have 5 here, 5 here, which would be 15 marches blocking off both. If you can progress, that would be great. Of course, get a little sneak one to go in and then speed through. If you see one of them marching towards you, you can quickly march past them and just take the building behind it. Once you occupy it for a certain amount of time, a few infected will show up and they will block it off. So this is really key to be able to know how to execute your planning. So guys, this was one of my previous ways I actually built the plan. I made sure that I looked at how much power everyone was worth. I tried to divvy it out so that one side would be slightly stronger than another and would be able to push certain sections when needed. Now, obviously, I spoke to each one of the leads and we did speak about where you're going to be pushing, who you're going to be fighting, and everyone else to follow the markers. Now, when I say the markers, as soon as I got in, I started putting markers up on the board, just like this. There's a load of defense ones going along here, just like the sun ones are going along there. So, the one team would follow the sun markers going up to block off that location. One of the teams will follow the defense markers to block off this location, and the attack markers the exact same. Once you do get to this position, try and get 1 or 2 people to be able to push to this building. Same as that, because these ones which are right in the center are the ones which are worth 600 points per minute. So these ones are very important ones to try and get to. So this is how I place the markers. Now the sun and the moon marker are the ones which are worth 1800 points, which will open up after 20 minutes. The ones which are yellow. So these ones are really vital to get to. So I actually show both these maps. I show this one so everyone knows how many points each one's worth. And then I show this one which will tell people what path they should be following at the beginning. You want to try and be one of the first ones to get there, because once you get to one of these positions, you will get held off by the enemy, because everyone else is going to be pushing the exact same. Now, it doesn't matter which side you actually place. It always looks like this, where you're coming down from the bottom. Because all it does is rotate the screen depending on what team you are and which team you're facing. And as I said from before, you will know who you're going to be facing by looking at this. I know that Ray is on the left and Jax is on the right. So when you're planning this, please make sure you're aware of this. If you do need any extra tips on how the game is played and rules, I did explain it more in my previous guide. Now this is obviously a planning guide for you to be able to assess the situation, determine on what sort of teams you're going to be making, and you're going to be telling them where to go. Now, one last thing which does help, which we did actually get caught out by last fight. When you're actually fighting for these, the 6 dots in the center, the blue spots, if you try to block them off just before that center opens up, you'll be able to get more marches in there. If you get enough marches in center, as I said, you will take it. So what did happen to us is we sped in about 6 or 7 marches into the center, but one of their big players quickly sped in to stop us at them 2 blue locations. And that did stop us from actually advancing to the center for that short amount of time until we had 5 marches to progress. So you may want to consider this. Another thing you may want to consider, if you do sneak past any of these little block off spots, which a lot of people do focus on, if you sneak past the center or you sneak past the side, them red buildings are worth 600 points per minute, as I said. It's not just you getting 600 points, it is hurting them by 600 points. So if you get past one of these locations, they're the places which you're wanting to try and speed into and quickly hold down until they can knock you out. Because that's going to be them losing 600, you gaining 600. And even if you're a weaker player, it's still going to take them 10 seconds to knock you out, which will make a difference by the end of the game. So these are a few tips and tricks on what you're wanting to do when it comes to planning and strategizing for the upcoming King of the Hill fight. Okay guys, I will be streaming my fights on Sunday if you are wanting to come watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this little guide for you guys, and I hope to see you guys on the battlefield. Good luck to everyone on Sunday. Much love to you all, and thank you all for watching. Have a good night guys, and peace!